Oh, please. You're a Lannister. You're here to haggle. Olenna Tyrell says this to Tyrion Lannister in Season 3, Episode 5, while sitting in the gardens of King's Landing. Her voice is matter-of-fact, direct, cutting through every pretense. Tyrion has just delivered one of his most carefully crafted speeches. He's positioned himself as Sansa Stark's protector. He's expressed genuine concern about her treatment. He's shown vulnerability by admitting his family's failures. He's tried to build a bridge based on shared humanity and moral positioning. But Olenna sees through it immediately. She knows Tyrion is performing. She knows he's here on his father's orders, and she knows exactly what this meeting is really about. You're a Lannister. You're here to haggle. With those few words, Olenna demolishes everything. She cuts through the compassionate rhetoric. She exposes the true purpose of his visit. She makes it clear that she won't be managed or fooled by even the most sophisticated performance. Tyrion hesitates. His expression shifts, not to anger or defensiveness, but to something like recognition. He knows he's been completely read. Because that's exactly what he's doing. He is here to haggle, to negotiate, to smooth over the fact that his father just blocked the Tyrell-Stark alliance and forced Sansa into marriage with a Lannister, to make the Tyrells accept this political maneuver without causing problems. Olenna listens to none of his careful explanations. She just states the truth. And Tyrion, brilliant, strategic, always several steps ahead, realizes he's dealing with someone who operates on a level that even he struggles to match.
Look at this. Over 99% of you watching are not subscribed. If you enjoy these videos, please subscribe and support the channel. It really helps me grow.
7 words. That's all it takes. Tyrion Lannister has just delivered one of his most carefully crafted speeches. He's positioned himself as Sansa's protector. He's expressed genuine concern about her treatment. He's shown vulnerability by admitting his family's failures. He's tried to build a bridge based on shared humanity. And Olenna Tyrell demolishes it all with a single sentence.
Because she sees through everything. She sees through his performance. She sees through his strategy. She sees through to the core truth that Tyrion is desperately trying to disguise. He's not here to save Sansa Stark. He's here to negotiate a deal. This moment, this single exchange in the gardens of King's Landing, reveals something extraordinary about Olenna Tyrell's intelligence. Not just that she's perceptive, though she certainly is. Not just that she can read people, though that's true too. This moment reveals that Olenna operates on a level that even the smartest players in Westeros struggle to match. She doesn't just read what people say, she reads what they're hiding, what they want, what they fear. And she does it so quickly, so effortlessly, that they don't even realize they've been completely exposed until it's too late. Tyrion came to this meeting thinking he could manage Olenna Tyrell, that he could use his considerable intelligence and rhetorical skill to navigate a delicate political situation. Instead, he got dissected. Let's understand the context. This meeting happens in Season 3, Episode 5, after a crucial political development. Tywin Lannister has decided to marry Sansa Stark to Tyrion. This is a disaster for multiple reasons. For Sansa, it's another nightmare. She was finally imagining an escape through marriage to Loras Tyrell, a marriage to someone kind in a house far from the Lannisters. Now she's being forced to marry Tyrion, tying her permanently to the family that murdered her father. For Tyrion, it's deeply uncomfortable. He knows Sansa is a traumatized teenager who's been held hostage and tortured by his family. He knows she sees him as part of that family. He knows this marriage is not what either of them wants. For the Tyrells, it's a political disaster. They've been planning to marry Sansa to Loras, which would give them control of the North when Robb inevitably loses the war. The Lannisters just blocked their entire strategy. So Tyrion has a problem. The marriage is happening. Tywin has commanded it, but Tyrion knows that forcing Sansa into this will make an already horrible situation even worse, and he knows the Tyrells are furious. He needs to manage the situation, to smooth things over, to explain that this isn't as bad as it looks, to maintain some kind of working relationship with House Tyrell while his family undermines their plans. So he requests a meeting with Olenna in the gardens. And this is where Tyrion makes his first mistake. He thinks he can manage Olenna Tyrell.
Tyrion's strategy, the careful performance. Watch how Tyrion approaches this conversation. He's using every tool in his considerable arsenal. He begins with humility. He positions himself as someone who's been commanded to do this, not someone who wants it. I was as surprised as anyone, his tone suggests. This is not my choice. Then he pivots to moral righteousness. He talks about how poorly Sansa has been treated, how she deserves better, how she's been hurt by his family. He's positioning himself as the good Lannister, the one who sees Sansa as a person, not a political pawn, the one who will protect her from his family's cruelty. This is brilliant rhetoric. Tyrion is acknowledging the problem while separating himself from it. He's saying, yes, the Lannisters are terrible. Yes, Sansa deserves better, but I'm not like them. I'll be different. He's trying to make Olenna see him as a potential ally rather than an enemy, someone who might actually help Sansa rather than harm her. And if this were someone else, almost anyone else in Westeros, this strategy might work. Tyrion is genuinely intelligent. His words are sincere. He really does feel bad about the situation. He really does want to treat Sansa well. His concern isn't fake. But sincerity doesn't mean honesty. Because underneath all of this concern and all of this moral positioning, there's still a core fact that Tyrion is trying to avoid. He's here to get the Tyrells to accept this marriage, to smooth over their anger, to make them feel better about being politically outmaneuvered by his father. He's here to haggle, to negotiate, to manage a political problem. And Olenna sees it immediately. The moment. You're here to haggle. After Tyrion finishes his careful, compassionate speech about wanting to protect Sansa, Olenna doesn't acknowledge it. She doesn't engage with his framing. She doesn't respond to his moral positioning. She just cuts to the truth. Oh, please, you're a Lannister. You're here to haggle. This is devastating. Let's break down why. First, oh, please dismisses everything he just said. All that careful rhetoric, all that moral positioning, all that sincere concern. She's saying, don't waste my time with the performance.
Second, you're a Lannister reduces him to his family identity. Despite everything Tyrion has tried to do to distinguish himself from his father and sister, despite his genuine differences from them, Olenna is saying, you're still one of them. You're still acting in Lannister interests. Third, you're here to haggle exposes his actual purpose. He's not here to commiserate. He's not here to share concerns. He's here to negotiate, to make a deal, to get something from her. Her acceptance, her cooperation, her silence about this political maneuver. She's not just reading what he said, she's reading why he's here. She's reading the political reality underneath the personal concern. And she's doing it so directly, so bluntly, that Tyrion has no room to maneuver. He can't pretend she misunderstood. He can't reframe. He can't redirect the conversation. She's just exposed him completely, and they both know it. What Olenna saw, the 3 levels of reading. To understand the brilliance of this moment, we need to understand what Olenna saw. She's operating at least 3 levels simultaneously. Level 1. The surface. Tyrion is expressing concern about Sansa. He's talking about her mistreatment. He's positioning himself as different from his family. This is what he's saying. Most people would engage at this level. They'd discuss Sansa's treatment, debate whether Tyrion is trustworthy, argue about the marriage. But Olenna doesn't waste time on the surface. Level 2. The subtext. Tyrion is here because the Lannisters need something. They've just blocked the Tyrell-Stark alliance, which was crucial to House Tyrell's strategy.
They've done this without consulting the Tyrells, without negotiating, without any consideration for Tyrell interests. Now they need to manage the fallout. They need the Tyrells to accept this without causing problems. They need the alliance to continue despite this betrayal. So Tyrion has been sent to smooth things over, to make it seem less hostile, to frame it in terms that the Tyrells might accept. This is the political reality. This is what's actually happening.
Level 3, the deeper truth. But Olenna goes even deeper. She understands something crucial about Tyrion himself. Tyrion is genuinely uncomfortable with this situation. His concern for Sansa is real, his discomfort with his family's tactics is sincere, but he's still here, doing their bidding. He's still carrying out Tywin's plan. He's still acting as a Lannister, serving Lannister interests, despite all his personal reservations. This is the deepest truth. Tyrion can't escape his family. No matter how much he differs from them personally, no matter how much he disagrees with their methods, he's still bound to them. He's still acting in their service. You're a Lannister isn't just about family identity, it's about power, about loyalty, about the fact that despite everything, Tyrion is still part of the Lannister machine. And You're Here to Haggle acknowledges all of this while cutting through to the practical reality. Whatever he says, whatever he feels, he's here to negotiate a political accommodation. Tyrion's response, the moment he realizes. What makes this scene even more powerful is Tyrion's reaction. He doesn't argue, he doesn't try to maintain the pretense, he doesn't insist that he's really here out of concern for Sansa. Instead, he just accepts it. He acknowledges what she's saying with a slight nod and a rueful expression. Because Tyrion is intelligent enough to recognize when he's been completely read. He knows there's no point in continuing the performance. She's already seen through it. This is actually one of Tyrion's strengths. He knows when he's beaten in a particular exchange. He doesn't waste energy on lost causes. But it's also a moment of genuine vulnerability. Because Tyrion is used to being the smartest person in the room. He's used to reading others while they fail to read him. He's used to being several steps ahead in any political conversation. And here's Olenna casually dismantling his entire approach in one sentence. You can see it in his eyes, the recognition that he's dealing with someone who operates at his level, maybe even above it. He came here thinking he could manage her. He left knowing she'd been managing him all along. The contrast, how others would have responded. To appreciate how extraordinary Olenna's response is, let's imagine how other major players might have handled this moment. Cersei. Cersei would have engaged emotionally. She would have taken Tyrion's speech at face value and responded with anger. You dare lecture me about how Sansa is treated after everything you've done? She would have made it personal, which would have allowed Tyrion to redirect and control the conversation. Tywin would have dismissed the concern entirely. This is politics, not a nursery. The girl's feelings don't matter. He would have imposed his framework through authority, but he wouldn't have exposed the hidden agenda the way Olenna does. Littlefinger would have played along. He would have engaged with Tyrion's framing, appeared sympathetic, and then maneuvered to extract something in return. But he would have let Tyrion maintain the illusion of his moral positioning. Varys would have acknowledged the complexity. He would have agreed that it's unfortunate, discussed the political necessities, and gently guided the conversation to practical solutions, but he would have been diplomatic about it. But Olenna, she just cuts through everything. She doesn't engage emotionally like Cersei. She doesn't impose authority like Tywin. She doesn't manipulate like Littlefinger. She doesn't diplomatically navigate like Varys. She just states the truth so directly that there's nothing to argue about. This is power that doesn't need to assert itself. It just is. The broader pattern, how Olenna always operates. This moment with Tyrion isn't unique. It's how Olenna operates throughout the series. With Sansa in the gardens, she cuts through the practiced lies to get the truth about Joffrey. He's a monster. With Marjorie, she's brutally honest about what queenship requires. You'll do whatever you need to do. With Tywin, she matches him blow for blow, never intimidated by his authority. And in her final scene with Jaime, she confesses to killing Joffrey not because she needs to, but because she wants Cersei to know. Tell Cersei, I want her to know it was me. In every interaction, Olenna operates with the same principle. Cut through the bullshit, see what's really happening, acknowledge the truth.
This makes her incredibly dangerous, because most politics in Westeros operates on carefully maintained fictions. Everyone knows certain things are true, but no one says them directly. Everyone understands the real motivations, but they pretend otherwise. Olenna refuses to play that game. She sees through the fiction and states the reality. This gives her an enormous advantage, because once the truth is stated openly, everyone has to acknowledge it. You can't maintain a pretense that someone has just exposed. Tyrion came to the garden with a carefully constructed narrative. Olenna destroyed it in 7 words. And once she destroyed it, there was no rebuilding it. Why this matters? Intelligence versus wisdom. This scene reveals something crucial about the difference between intelligence and wisdom. Tyrion is extraordinarily intelligent. He reads books. He understands complex political dynamics. He can construct sophisticated arguments and see several moves ahead. But Olenna has wisdom. She's lived long enough to see through all the performances. She understands human nature at a fundamental level. She doesn't need to analyze and strategize. She just sees. Intelligence is about processing information. Wisdom is about understanding what information matters. Tyrion processed everything about this situation, the political dynamics, the personal complications, the diplomatic requirements. He constructed a sophisticated approach based on all that information. Olenna just understood what mattered. He's a Lannister. He's here to negotiate. Everything else is window dressing. This is why age and experience matter in Game of Thrones. It's not that older characters are smarter in the raw intellectual sense. It's that they've seen enough to know what patterns to look for. Olenna has spent decades navigating Westerosi politics. She's heard 1,000 variations of Tyrion's speech. She knows exactly what it means when a Lannister shows up, expressing concern and talking about wanting to help. She doesn't need to analyze it. She just recognizes the pattern instantly.
The hidden respect. Here's something subtle but important. This moment actually establishes a foundation of respect between Olenna and Tyrion. Yes, Olenna exposes him. Yes, she demolishes his careful approach. Yes, she makes it clear she sees through him completely. But she doesn't insult him. She doesn't mock him. She doesn't treat him like he's stupid for trying. Instead, she's almost matter-of-fact about it. You're a Lannister, you're here to haggle. It's stated as simple truth, not as accusation or judgment. In a way, she's acknowledging that he's doing what he has to do. She's not angry about it, she's not disappointed. She just sees it clearly and states it openly. And Tyrion, for his part, recognizes what just happened. He sees that she saw through him, and instead of resenting it, he respects it. Throughout the rest of their conversation, there's a shift. Tyrion stops trying to manage her. He stops performing. He just talks to her directly. Because she's established that she's not going to be managed. She's not going to be fooled by rhetoric or distracted by moral positioning. She's going to see through whatever he tries. So they might as well just be honest with each other. This becomes the basis for their relationship going forward. Tyrion knows Olenna will always see through his bullshit. Olenna knows Tyrion is smart enough to recognize when he's been read, so they can skip the performance and talk directly. The Lannister Trap. There's a deeper tragedy in this moment that's easy to miss. When Olenna says, "You're a Lannister," she's not just identifying his family, she's identifying his trap. Because Tyrion is trapped by his family in ways he doesn't fully recognize. He thinks he's different from them. He thinks he makes his own choices. He thinks his genuine concern for people like Sansa separates him from the Tywin Lannisters and Cersei Lannisters of the world. But he's still here doing their bidding. He's still carrying out Tywin's orders. He's still serving Lannister interests even when it makes him uncomfortable. He's trapped not by chains or by threats, but by identity, by family, by the simple fact that he is a Lannister, and Lannisters serve Lannister interests.
This is why he can't protect Sansa the way he wants. This is why he can't stand up to his father. This is why, despite all his intelligence and moral clarity, he ends up participating in schemes that violate his own principles. Olenna sees this. She sees that Tyrion's intelligence and compassion don't free him from his family. They just make him more aware of the compromises he's making. And there's a parallel here to Olenna herself. She's also trapped by family, in a sense. She's also serving House Tyrell's interests above all else. She also makes ruthless decisions in service of political goals. But she's not conflicted about it. She's not pretending to be something she's not. She accepts what she is and what she does. Tyrion is still fighting against his nature. Olenna has made peace with hers. That's another advantage she has. What happens next? The real negotiation. After Olenna exposes his purpose, something interesting happens. They actually start negotiating. But now it's honest negotiation. Now they're both acknowledging what's really happening. Tyrion stops pretending he's here purely out of concern for Sansa. Olenna stops pretending she doesn't understand the political necessities. They talk about what they can actually offer each other, about how to make this situation work despite the Tyrells' anger about being outmaneuvered. And ironically, this direct approach is more effective than Tyrion's careful rhetoric would have been, because Olenna respects directness. She respects people who don't waste her time with bullshit. She'll work with someone who's honest about what they want and what they're willing to give. But she has no patience for performances, for people who pretend their political moves are acts of kindness, for those who dress up self-interest as morality. By cutting through Tyrion's performance, Olenna actually makes a deal possible, because now they can talk about reality instead of dancing around it. This is the paradox of Olenna's bluntness. It's not actually hostile, it's clarifying. It allows real communication to happen. The final truth. 1 line, 7 words, 1 moment. You're a Lannister. You're here to haggle. In that single sentence, Olenna Tyrell accomplished something remarkable. She exposed Tyrion's true purpose. She demolished his careful strategy. She established herself as someone who couldn't be managed or fooled, and she laid the groundwork for an honest negotiation. She did all of this not through elaborate schemes or careful manipulation, but through simple, direct observation of the truth. This is Olenna's superpower throughout Game of Thrones. Not manipulation, not deception, not even particularly complex strategy, just the ability to see what's really happening and the courage to say it out loud. Most people can't do this. They're too invested in maintaining comfortable fictions, too worried about being polite, too concerned with managing others' perceptions. Olenna has no such concerns. She's too old, too experienced, and too powerful to waste time on bullshit. She sees through Tyrion immediately, and she tells him so. And in doing so, she demonstrates why she's one of the most formidable minds in Westeros. Because intelligence without wisdom can be outmaneuvered. Strategy without insight can be countered. But truth, simple, direct, undeniable truth, is almost impossible to defeat. Tyrion learned this the hard way in a garden in King's Landing. He came with a plan. He left with respect for someone who saw through it instantly. You're a Lannister. You're here to haggle. 7 words that cut through everything. 7 words that exposed not just Tyrion's purpose in that meeting, but his fundamental trap, being smart enough to see the problems with his family, but still bound to serve their interests. 7 words that proved why Olenna Tyrell was the most dangerous person in King's Landing. Not because she schemed the most, not because she manipulated the best, but because she saw the clearest.
and she wasn't afraid to say what she saw. That's real power. That's what it means to control the game. Not winning every battle, not having the most resources, not even being the smartest person in the room, just seeing clearly, speaking honestly, and making everyone else deal with the truth you've just made impossible to ignore. Tyrion walked into that garden thinking he could manage Olenna Tyrell. He walked out knowing he'd been seen completely, read thoroughly, exposed entirely, by an old woman in a garden who simply told the truth. Oh please, you're a Lannister. You're here to haggle. And that was that.